This is going to be just a very short summary of the properties of logarithms that we talked about. There are three properties of logarithms: product property, the quotient property, and the power property. The product property of logarithms says that if we are adding two logs of the same base, what we can do is we can multiply the arguments together and combine them under one log. A good way to remember this property is that when you see addition, you do multiplication. The opposite is also true. If we were asked to expand a logarithm, such as log base 3 of x times y, because there is multiplication happening between these two pieces of the argument, we could split this up into log base 3 of x plus log base 3 of y. In that case, when you see multiplication, you split your log and expand it using addition. This relationship is very, very important, and we've seen it before in other modules, in other units. That's the product property. And we would expect the product property to have something to do with multiplication, because the word for the result of multiplication is the product. The quotient property of logarithms involves subtraction. So we would expect to see a log minus another log. Again, the bases have to be the same in order to use these properties. So you always want to check and make sure that the bases of the logs are the same. But the difference here is when you see division, what you do, when you see subtraction, what you do is division. So when I see this subtraction, I'm going to combine these two under one log with the same base. My first argument becomes my numerator, and my second argument becomes my denominator. And then, of course, we would do anything we need to do there to simplify that. The opposite is also true. If you see that two things are being divided, such as log base 3 of x over y, when you see division happening, we can expand that logarithm by using subtraction. So I could split this argument up into these two pieces by splitting into log 3 of x minus log 3 of y, being very careful to make sure that my numerator statement goes first and my denominator statement goes second. And that's how the quotient property of logarithms works. The power property of logarithms is actually, it's kind of like a transportation pass. We actually physically pick up a number and move it someplace else. So you might see a number on the outside of a log as a coefficient. So this is 3 times log of 7. What the power property of logarithms says is that if you have a number on the outside here being multiplied, you can move it inside and have it become the exponent of your argument. The opposite is also true. If I have, say, log of x squared, I can move this squared out front to multiply as a coefficient. The power property basically says that you can move a power to the front to be a coefficient multiplied by the log, or you can move a coefficient multiplied by the log inside as an exponent for your argument.